My name is Renee, 35 years old, and a successful financial manager who built my career from scratch. I come from a family that always cared more about appearances than anything else. When I received the invitation to my parents' 40th anniversary celebration at the Grand Plaza Hotel, I was genuinely excited. After all, I had spent the last decade financially supporting their lavish lifestyle, including the $35,000 for this very party. What I never expected was to be publicly humiliated and thrown out like garbage. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button if you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should love you most. Growing up in our upper-middle-class neighborhood in Connecticut, I learned early that image was everything to my parents. Eleanor and Richard Thompson were not born wealthy, but they desperately wanted everyone to think they were. Our house was always immaculate when guests came over, but the cupboards were often bare when we were alone. My mother spent money we did not have on designer clothes, while my father networked tirelessly with people he thought could elevate our social status. Appearances matter more than reality, Renee, my mother would say while applying her expensive lipstick before another country club event. People treat you based on what they think you are, not what you actually are. I was a quiet, studious child who preferred books to social events. This disappointed my parents, who wanted me to be more like my younger sister Stephanie. 3 years, my junior Stephanie was outgoing, conventionally pretty, and naturally skilled at the social games my parents valued. While I got straight A's and scholarships, Stephanie got new clothes and praise for her popularity. "Why cannot you be more like your sister?" became the soundtrack of my teenage years. She knows how to make people like her. After college, where I studied finance on a full scholarship, I landed an entry-level position at a prestigious financial firm in New York. Through hard work and natural talent with numbers, I climbed the corporate ladder quickly. By 30, I was making 6 figures and managing portfolios for wealthy clients. My parents, who had dismissed my career choice initially, suddenly became very interested in my success. The first time they asked for money was when I was 28. Their mortgage was underwater after some bad investments my father had made, and they needed $20,000 to avoid foreclosure. I gave it to them without hesitation. Family helps family, I thought. That was just the beginning. Over the next 7 years, I became the unofficial bank of the Thompson family. New roof for their house, call Renee. Country club membership fees, Renee will cover it. Luxury car lease, Renee can afford it. Meanwhile, my sister Stephanie married Curtis Wellington when I was 32. Curtis came from actual old money with a trust fund and family connections to some of the wealthiest families on the East Coast. My parents were ecstatic, treating him like the son they never had and Stephanie like she had won the lottery of life. "Curtis is such a wonderful addition to our family," my mother would gush during our monthly phone calls. "He knows all the right people." What they did not know, but I did through my financial industry connections, was that the Wellington family fortune was not what it used to be. Curtis worked at his family firm in name, only drawing a salary that was mostly for show. His trust fund was nearly depleted due to his extravagant spending habits. But none of that mattered to my parents. He had the right last name and the right connections. My own marriage to Daniel fell apart 3 years ago. He was a kind, hardworking architect who my parents never thought was good enough. They barely acknowledged him at family gatherings and frequently forgot to invite him to events. "He does not really fit with our crowd," my father once said within earshot of Daniel. The constant undermining took its toll on our relationship. When we divorced, my parents did not offer support or sympathy. Instead, my mother said, "I always knew he was not right for you. Maybe now you can find someone more suitable." By suitable, she meant wealthy and connected. Despite the emotional distance, I continued to support them financially. When their kitchen needed renovation last year, I paid $70,000 for top-of-the-line everything. When my father wanted a new Mercedes, I covered the down payment and the monthly lease. I never asked for recognition or gratitude. They were my parents, and I wanted to make their lives comfortable. The 40th anniversary celebration was my idea initially. I suggested a small, elegant dinner with close family and friends. But my parents had grander visions. "We were thinking of renting the grand ballroom at the Plaza," my mother said during a lunch I was paying for. "We want to invite about 200 people." The cost estimate they showed me was ridiculously low, and I knew immediately they were being unrealistic or intentionally downplaying the expense. but I smiled and said, "Let me handle it. Consider it my gift to you both." What they did not know was that the actual cost would be closer to $35,000, not the $15,000 they estimated. But I could afford it, and their happiness meant something to me, despite everything. I arranged everything through the event planner, ensuring my parents would have the celebration they dreamed of. I just never imagined that I would not be welcome at the party I was paying for. The formal invitation arrived in my mailbox on a Tuesday afternoon in April, 2 months before the event. Thick, cream-colored cardstock with gold embossing announced Eleanor and Richard Thompson request the pleasure of your company to celebrate 40 years of marriage. The date was set for June 15th at 7 in the evening at the Grand Plaza Hotel. The invitation specified black tie attire and requested RSVPs by May 15th. I called my mother immediately after receiving it. "The invitations look beautiful," I said. "Very elegant." "Yes, we are quite pleased with them," she replied. "Curtis recommended the stationer. They do work for all the best families." Of course they did. Everything in my parents' world now revolved around what Curtis and Stephanie thought was best. "I already know what I am going to wear," I told her, trying to share in her excitement. "That navy blue Valentino I bought last season." "Oh," she paused. "I thought you might want something new for such a special occasion. First impressions matter, dear." I bit my tongue. The dress had cost $3,000 and I had only worn it once, but to please her, I agreed to go shopping for something new. The next weekend, I met my friend Natalie at Saks Fifth Avenue to look for the perfect dress. Natalie had known me since college and understood my complicated relationship with my family. "So you are dropping another $35,000 on a party for people who criticize everything you do?" Natalie asked as we browsed through designer evening gowns. "That seems healthy." "They are my parents," I said, examining a silver sequin gown. "Besides, it makes me happy to give them something special." Natalie gave me a look that said she did not believe me, but she dropped the subject. After trying on 7 dresses, I settled on a stunning emerald green Elie Saab with delicate beading that cost just under $5,000. It was extravagant, but I wanted to look perfect for the event. Next came the gifts. What do you buy for the parents who want everything but appreciate nothing? After much deliberation, I selected a limited edition Patek Philippe watch for my father, valued at $20,000, but which I got at a discount through a client who worked for the company. For my mother, I chose a diamond necklace from Tiffany, with a price tag of $15,000. In the weeks leading up to the anniversary, I took time off work to help with preparations. I met with Kimberly, the event planner, several times to finalize details. She assumed I was in charge of everything, which technically I was since I was paying. "Your parents are going to be so thrilled with all the special touches you have added," Kimberly said during our final meeting. "The custom ice sculpture, the premium champagne selection, the live string quartet. It is all so thoughtful." "Thank you," I replied. "They deserve the best." 3 days before the event, I got my hair done with Marcus, a stylist at a high-end salon in Manhattan. As he worked on my long brown hair, he commented on my generosity. "Your parents must be so grateful to have a daughter like you," he said, adding subtle highlights to frame my face. Not many children would go to such lengths for their parents' anniversary. I nodded, not wanting to explain the complexity of our relationship. In truth, I was hoping the party would be a turning point. Perhaps when they saw how much I had done for them, they would finally see my worth beyond my bank account. The day before the event, I received a call from Kimberly about a last-minute issue with the flowers. "The specific orchids your mother requested are not available," she explained. "The supplier had a problem with their shipment. We can substitute with roses, but it will change the look of the centerpieces." "That will not work," I said, knowing my mother would be disappointed. "Let me make some calls." Through another client connection, I managed to source the exact orchids from a specialty grower in Florida. The cost for overnight shipping and the premium on the flowers added another $8,000 to the total, but it was worth it to make everything perfect. The morning of the anniversary, I woke up feeling excited and hopeful. I spent extra time on my makeup, had my nails done, and carefully dressed in my new gown. The emerald color complemented my hazel eyes, and the fit was perfect. I looked in the mirror and allowed myself a moment of pride. I had worked hard for everything I had achieved, despite the lack of emotional support from my family. I carefully placed the wrapped gifts in my car and drove to the plaza, arriving an hour before the event was scheduled to begin. I wanted to make sure everything was in place and perfect before the guests arrived. This is going to be a night to remember, I told myself as I pulled into the parking lot. Everything is going to be wonderful. I had no idea how memorable it would truly be, but for all the wrong reasons. As I walked through the ornate doors of the Grand Plaza Hotel, gift bags in hand, I noticed something odd immediately. The concierge at the front desk gave me a strange look when I mentioned I was there for the Thompson anniversary celebration. He spoke quietly into his phone before directing me to the grand ballroom on the second floor. In the elevator, I straightened my emerald dress and took a deep breath. The doors opened to reveal a hallway decorated with elegant floral arrangements, exactly as I had planned with Kimberly. I could hear the string quartet playing softly from inside the ballroom. Everything seemed perfect until I approached the entrance. Jeffrey, the event manager I had corresponded with for months, was standing by the door checking names off a list. When he saw me, his professional smile faltered for a moment. "Good evening, Miss Thompson," he said, his voice tight. "Is there something I can help you with?" I laughed, confused by his formal tone. "I am just making sure everything is ready. The orchids arrived on time, right, and the champagne is being chilled properly." Jeffrey glanced down at his clipboard, then back at me. "Yes, everything is in order as you specified. Your parents have already arrived and are greeting guests." "Great," I said, stepping toward the entrance. "I will just go in and say hello." Jeffrey shifted uncomfortably but did not stop me. As I entered the ballroom, I was struck by how beautiful everything looked. The lighting was soft and romantic, casting a golden glow over the space. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and each table was adorned with the exotic orchid centerpieces I had arranged. A large ice sculpture of my parents' wedding date stood in the center of the room, slowly melting into an illuminated basin. I spotted my parents near the main table, surrounded by guests. My mother was wearing a royal blue gown that I had helped her select, and my father looked distinguished in his tuxedo. Beside them stood Stephanie in a form-fitting red dress, her arm linked with Curtis, who was laughing loudly at something my father had said. With a smile, I approached them, gifts in hand. My mother saw me first, and her expression changed instantly from warm hostess to cold displeasure. "Renee," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing here?" I stopped, confused. "What do you mean? It is your anniversary party." My father turned and noticed me, his face hardening. "Renee, there must be some misunderstanding. This is a private event." I laughed nervously, thinking it must be some kind of joke. "Dad, I know it is private. I planned it. I paid for it." Several nearby guests had begun to notice the tense exchange and were watching with curious expressions. My mother glanced around, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. "That is not something we need to discuss right now," she hissed. "The point is you are not on the guest list." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What? That is impossible. I received an invitation." "That was a mistake," my father said firmly. "Sorry, you are not invited. You need to leave." Ender dup. Tay. They. And I. I stood there in shock, still holding the expensive gifts I had brought. This must be some kind of misunderstanding. I organized this entire event. My mother stepped closer, her voice low but harsh. "Renee, this is embarrassing. We have a certain standard for our guests, and frankly, since your divorce, you just do not fit the image we want to project. Everyone here is either a couple or from an important family. You are neither." I felt as if all the air had been sucked from the room. People were openly staring now, whispering behind their hands. I caught fragments of their comments. "That is their other daughter, and I heard she had some kind of breakdown after her divorce." But I paid for everything, I said, my voice small and incredulous. The venue, the food, the decorations, all of it. My father's face darkened with anger. "Keep your voice down. Nobody needs to know our financial arrangements. Now please leave before you cause more of a scene." I noticed Stephanie watching from a few feet away, a small, satisfied smile playing on her lips. She made no attempt to intervene or support me. "I cannot believe this is happening," I said, tears threatening to spill. "How can you do this to me?" My father signaled to someone behind me, and I turned to see a security guard approaching. He was a tall man with kind eyes that would not meet mine. "Is there a problem here, sir?" the security guard asked my father. "Yes, Thomas," my father said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "This woman is trying to crash our event. Please escort her out." My mother added with a dismissive wave, "Get this beggar out of here. She is disturbing our guests." Beggar. The word echoed in my head. To them, that is what I was, despite the hundreds of thousands of dollars I had given them over the years. Thomas, the security guard, looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I am going to have to ask you to come with me." In that moment, I saw my relationship with my parents with perfect clarity. I was nothing more than an ATM to them, useful only for what I could provide financially. When it came to their social standing, I was a liability, a divorced woman with no prestigious husband to validate her worth. Without another word, I turned and walked toward the exit, my expensive dress swishing around my ankles, gifts still clutched in my hands. I could feel the stares of 200 guests burning into my back as I made the longest walk of my life. As I passed Jeffrey at the door, he murmured, "I am sorry, Miss Thompson. For what it is worth, I think what they are doing is wrong." Outside in the hallway, I handed the gifts to Thomas. "Please give these to my parents. They are already paid for." He nodded, genuine sympathy in his eyes. "Again, I am sorry about this, ma'am." I managed to maintain my composure until I reached my car in the parking garage. Only then did I allow the tears to fall, great heaving sobs that made my whole body shake. In the span of 10 minutes, my entire relationship with my family had been exposed for the toxic sham it truly was. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The garage was cold and dimly lit, matching the hollowness I felt inside. Mascara streaked down my face, ruining the makeup I had so carefully applied earlier. My phone chimed with a text from Lauren, my closest friend. "How is the party going? Knock them dead in that gorgeous dress." I could not bring myself to respond. How could I explain what had just happened? The public humiliation was almost unbearable to think about, let alone describe to someone else. But I needed to talk to someone who would understand, so I called her. "Lauren," I managed to say before breaking down again. "Renee, what is wrong? Where are you?" Her voice was immediately concerned. Between sobs, I explained what had happened. The rejection, the security escort, being called a beggar by my own mother. "Those manipulative, ungrateful parasites," Lauren exclaimed. "After everything you have done for them, the money, the support, planning their entire anniversary, I cannot believe they would treat their own daughter like this." "I can," I said, a strange calm beginning to replace my shock. "This is who they have always been. I just refuse to see it." As we talked, I scrolled through social media on my phone. People were already posting photos from the event. There was my mother beaming beside my father as they cut a massive cake topped with an ornate 40 decoration. Stephanie and Curtis posed with them, champagne flutes raised in a toast. Everyone looked so happy, so perfect. I zoomed in on one photo of the printed program for the evening. It listed my parents' names, thanked their dear friends for joining this special celebration, and included acknowledgments to the event staff. Not a single mention of me, despite the fact that I had coordinated everything down to the last detail. "They erased me completely," I told Lauren. "It is like I do not exist, except when they need my money." "Speaking of money," Lauren said carefully, "exactly how much have you spent on them over the years?" I had never really added it all up before. As I began calculating out loud, the figures were staggering. The mortgage assistance at $4,000 monthly for 5 years. The country club membership at $3,000 per month. The kitchen renovation at $70,000. The car lease payments. The vacation I had funded last year. And now this anniversary celebration at $35,000 plus the last-minute flower adjustment that cost an additional $8,000. There is also the anniversary cruise I booked for them, I remembered suddenly. A $12,000 Mediterranean cruise leaving next week. First-class flights included. "Renee, that is hundreds of thousands of dollars," Lauren said, sounding shocked. Have they ever shown any gratitude at all? I thought about it. They say thank you sometimes, but it is always followed by another request, or a complaint that something is not exactly how they wanted it. While still on the phone, I received an email notification. It was from Amber, my cousin on my mother's side. She had been at the party and witnessed everything. I cannot believe what just happened, her message read. Your parents are telling everyone you showed up uninvited and tried to make a scene. They are actually claiming you have been financially unstable since your divorce and were there to ask for money. I know that is not true. Are you okay? Please call me. That was the final straw. Not only had they humiliated me and erased my contributions, but they were now actively lying about me to save face. Lauren, I said, my voice steady now. I need to go home and think about what to do next. Do you want me to come over? She asked. Not yet. I need some time alone first. I will call you later. As I drove home to my Manhattan apartment, a strange sense of clarity washed over me. For years, I had been enabling my parents' toxic behavior. I had allowed them to use me financially while treating me as emotionally expendable. I had been so desperate for their approval and love that I had overlooked countless instances of manipulation and emotional abuse. At home, I changed out of my expensive dress and washed away my ruined makeup. As I made myself a cup of tea, I began to look through my financial records more carefully. The extent of my parents' financial dependency on me was even greater than I had realized. In my home office, I found the paperwork for the anniversary cruise I had booked months ago. A $12,000 Mediterranean voyage on a luxury liner departing the week after their anniversary. I had arranged for a surprise upgrade to the ship's most exclusive suite with private butler service and premium dining options. I also found records of recent transfers to my parents' account. Money that was supposed to be for property taxes and homeowners insurance. Money I had sent without question, whenever they asked. My phone buzzed with another message. This time, it was from a friend who worked at the country club where my parents were members. Your father is telling everyone you had a mental breakdown at the anniversary party and had to be removed by security. He is claiming you have been unstable since your divorce and have been harassing them for money. Just thought you should know. The pain I had felt earlier was transforming into something else now. A cold, righteous anger that clarified my thoughts and hardened my resolve. I had been a doormat for far too long. I had allowed myself to be used because I kept hoping that eventually my parents would see me as worthy of their love. That hope was dead now. In its place was a determination to stand up for myself and end the cycle of financial manipulation once and for all. Morning light streamed through my bedroom windows as I sat cross-legged on my bed surrounded by financial statements, receipts, and notes. I had been up most of the night piecing together the full extent of my financial entanglement with my parents. The picture that emerged was both shocking and infuriating. Over the past 7 years, I had given my parents more than $600,000 in direct financial support. This did not include gifts, trips I had paid for, or the countless dinners and experiences I had funded. It was more money than most people see in a decade, all given freely to people who had just humiliated me in front of 200 guests. My first call that morning was to Brandon, my financial advisor. Brandon, I need a complete accounting of all payments and transfers I have made to Eleanor and Richard Thompson since 2018. Can you put that together for me today? Of course, Renee. May I ask what this is regarding? Are you considering restructuring your giving strategy? You could say that, I replied. I am eliminating it entirely. While waiting for Brandon's report, I made a list of all the ongoing financial commitments I had with my parents. 1. The anniversary party balance of $15,000 due to the venue today. 2. The Mediterranean cruise $12,000 departing next week. 3. Monthly country club membership, $3,000 due on the 1st of each month. 4. Mortgage assistance. $4,000 automatically transferred on the 15th 5-car lease payment. $1,500 due on the 22nd 6 credit card payments. Varying amounts, usually around $2,000 monthly. 7 miscellaneous requests for emergency funds, averaging $5,000 quarterly. In total, I was spending well over $150,000 annually on my parents' lifestyle. Money they had come to expect and rely on without ever showing genuine appreciation or respect. The next call was to Victoria, my attorney. I needed to ensure that whatever actions I took would be legal and could not be contested. Victoria, I need some advice on terminating financial support to family members. Voluntary financial support can generally be terminated at any time, Renee, she explained after hearing my situation. Unless you have signed contracts or written agreements specifying otherwise. Do you have any such agreements with your parents? No, I replied. Everything has been informal. They ask, I give. Then legally, you are free to stop at any time. They may not like it, but they cannot force you to continue supporting them financially. Victoria advised me to document everything and to communicate my decision clearly in writing. She also suggested I review any accounts where my parents might have access and secure them immediately. People can become desperate when their financial situation changes suddenly, she warned. Better to be safe than sorry. After my call with Victoria, I received Brandon's report. The numbers were even higher than my estimates. In addition to the direct support I had documented, there were numerous smaller transfers and payments I had forgotten about, birthday gifts for their friends, repairs to their vacation property. Even payments to my sister Stephanie and her husband Curtis that my parents had requested on their behalf. The most surprising discovery was that my parents had been systematically exaggerating their wealth to friends and associates. The country club membership they bragged about paid for entirely by me. The luxury cars they drove leased under my name. The renovations to their home that they showed off in magazine features all funded by my accounts. They had created an illusion of wealth and success that was built entirely on my hard work and generosity. And yesterday, they had called me a beggar. With this knowledge, I began to develop a methodical plan. I would not act out of pure emotion or spite. Instead, I would calmly and systematically disentangle myself from their financial lives. The goal was not to hurt them, but to establish healthy boundaries and end my role as their personal bank. I created a spreadsheet detailing each financial commitment, the process for terminating it, and a timeline for execution. Some things like the cruise needed to be canceled immediately before more payments were processed. Others, like the mortgage assistance, could be phased out with proper notice. In my home office, I drafted a simple factual email to my parents. No emotional language, no accusations, just a clear statement of my decision. Dear Eleanor and Richard, after careful consideration, I have decided to end all financial support effective immediately. This includes, but is not limited to, the remaining balance for your anniversary celebration, your upcoming Mediterranean cruise, monthly country club membership fees, mortgage assistance payments, car lease payments, credit card payments, any future requests for funds. I have consulted with my attorney to ensure this termination of support is handled properly. Please direct any questions regarding this decision to Victoria Lambert at Lambert Legal Associates. Sincerely, Renee Thompson. I did not send the email yet. First, I wanted to execute my plan, making it impossible for them to manipulate me into changing my mind. Looking at my list, I felt a strange combination of anxiety and liberation. For so long, my relationship with my parents had been defined by financial dependency and emotional manipulation. Breaking free would be difficult but necessary for my own well-being. With a deep breath, I picked up my phone and began making the calls that would forever change my relationship with my family. The first call was to the cruise line. I had booked my parents on the Mediterranean Splendor, a luxury 12-day voyage departing from Barcelona. They were scheduled to fly first class next Wednesday, just 5 days from now. Hello, I need to cancel a booking, I said when the customer service representative answered. Confirmation number MT7895. Of course, Miss Thompson. Let me pull up that reservation. There was a brief pause. I see this is for a Mediterranean cruise departing next week. Grand suite accommodation for Richard and Eleanor Thompson. May I ask the reason for cancellation? Change of plans, I said simply. Are there any penalties for canceling at this time? Since you purchased the premium travel insurance, you are eligible for a full refund minus a $200 processing fee. The refund will be credited back to your original form of payment within 7 to 10 business days. Perfect. Please proceed with the cancellation. As the representative processed my request, I felt a small twinge of guilt. My parents had been talking about this cruise for months, showing the brochure to their friends, bragging about the exclusive suite. But the guilt was quickly replaced by resolve when I remembered my mother's words. "Get this beggar out of here. Your cancellation has been processed, Miss Thompson. You should receive a confirmation email shortly. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "No, thank you. That is all." One down, several to go. Next was the country club. My parents had been members of the Willow Creek Country Club for nearly a decade, but it was only in the last 5 years when I began paying their dues that they upgraded to the elite membership level. The monthly fee of $3,000 included access to the championship golf course, tennis facilities, fine dining, and exclusive social events. Good morning, Willow Creek Country Club. How may I direct your call? Hi, this is Renee Thompson. I need to speak with someone about a membership account. I was transferred to the membership director, a woman named Patricia, who recognized my name immediately. "Miss Thompson, how lovely to hear from you. Your parents were just here last night talking about their wonderful anniversary celebration." "I am sure they were," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "I am calling about their membership. As you know, I have been covering their dues for the past 5 years. Yes, we have you listed as the financial sponsor. Is there something we can help you with? I need to terminate my sponsorship effective immediately." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. "I see. Well, that is certainly your right. Without a financial sponsor, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson would need to either assume payment responsibility themselves or relinquish their membership." "I understand. Please process the termination today and notify them of the change in status." "Of course. I should inform you that there is a 30-day notice period in our bylaws, so one final payment will be processed for next month." "That is fine," I agreed. "But please make it clear that will be the final payment from me." After hanging up, I moved on to the mortgage assistance. 5 years ago, when my parents were facing potential foreclosure on their home, I had set up a monthly transfer of $4,000 to help them cover their mortgage payments. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary, but like all financial assistance, I provided it had become an expected part of their lives. I logged into my online banking portal and navigated to the scheduled transfer section. There, it was monthly transfer to Richard and Eleanor Thompson, $4,000 recurring on the 15th of each month. I clicked Cancel Recurring Transfer and confirmed my decision. The system informed me that the cancellation was effective immediately and no further transfers would be processed. Next came the car leases. Both my parents drove luxury vehicles, a Mercedes S-Class for my father and a BMW X7 for my mother. Both leases were in my name with monthly payments totaling nearly $3,000. The call to the leasing company took longer as I had to explain the situation to multiple representatives and verify my identity several times. Eventually, I was able to arrange for the leases to be terminated at the end of the current month. There would be early termination fees, but I was willing to pay them to clean slate. Please note that the vehicles will need to be returned to your nearest dealership by the last day of the month, the representative explained. Any damage beyond normal wear and tear will result in additional charges. "I understand," I replied, making a note to email my parents with this information. The credit card payments were next. For years, I had been paying the minimum balances on 3 credit cards my parents used for emergencies. These emergencies included spa weekends, designer shopping sprees, and dinners at exclusive restaurants. I logged into each account and removed my automatic payments. Finally, I called the Grand Plaza Hotel to address the remaining balance for the anniversary party. $15,000 was still due, the final payment for the event that I had been explicitly uninvited from. Grand Plaza Hotel Events Department. This is Kimberly speaking. Kimberly, this is Renee Thompson. Renee, I was just about to call you. The party last night was absolutely spectacular. Everyone had such a wonderful time. Your parents looked so happy. I bit back a sarcastic response. I am glad to hear that. I am calling about the final payment that is due today. Yes, $15,827.36. Would you like to use the same credit card you used for the deposit? Actually, I will not be making that payment. I am sorry, Kimberly sounded confused. The payment responsibility will need to be transferred to Richard and Eleanor Thompson directly. I am no longer covering the cost of the event. But the contract is in your name, Renee. You are legally responsible for the payment. Check the contract again, Kimberly, I said calmly. The deposit was non-refundable, but the final payment is due the day after the event. I am choosing not to make that payment. You will need to bill my parents directly. There was a long pause as Kimberly presumably reviewed the contract. You are right about the terms, she finally said, but this is highly unusual. Your parents may not be prepared to cover this expense on such short notice. That is not my concern anymore, I replied. Please update your records accordingly. After hanging up, I sat back in my chair and took a deep breath. In the span of 2 hours, I had systematically canceled every financial commitment I had with my parents, totaling over $62,000 in immediate savings and more than $150,000 annually going forward. I opened my email and reviewed the message I had drafted earlier. After making a few minor edits, I clicked send. The email to my parents was brief, factual, and devoid of emotion. It simply stated my decision to end all financial support and directed them to contact my attorney with any questions. As soon as I sent the email, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I was not responsible for maintaining my parents' lifestyle. Their financial problems were no longer mine to solve. It was both terrifying and liberating. My phone buzzed with a text from Lauren. How are you holding up, need company tonight? I replied, actually yes, just made some big changes. Could use a friend and a glass of wine? On my way, bringing pizza and the good wine, she responded. While waiting for Lauren, I transferred my remaining funds to a new account at a different bank, one my parents had no knowledge of. Victoria had advised this as a precaution, and I was taking no chances. Lauren arrived an hour later, arms full of food and wine. As we sat in my living room, I recounted everything I had done that day. I am proud of you, she said, raising her glass. It takes courage to break free from toxic relationships even when they are with your own family. I just hope I am doing the right thing, I admitted. Part of me still feels guilty. That is because you are a good person, Renee. But sometimes being a good person means setting boundaries and standing up for yourself. We were halfway through our second glass of wine when my phone began to ring. It was my father. I silenced it without answering. A minute later it rang again, my mother this time. I silenced that call too. Over the next 2 hours, the calls came non-stop. My parents, my sister, even Curtis tried to reach me. I ignored them all. Text messages flooded in, ranging from confused. There must be some mistake, with the cruise reservation, to angry. How dare you do this to us after everything we have done for you, to desperate. Please call us immediately. This is an emergency. By 11 that night, my phone showed 36 missed calls and 28 unread messages. I had turned off notification sounds and was focused on my conversation with Lauren when the doorbell rang. We both froze, looking at each other. Are you expecting anyone? Lauren asked. No, I replied, a knot forming in my stomach. But I have a pretty good idea who it might be. The doorbell rang again, this time accompanied by loud knocking. Lauren gave me a concerned look. You do not have to answer it, she said. You can call building security if you want them to leave. I shook my head. No, I need to face them. This confrontation was inevitable. Taking a deep breath, I walked to my door and looked through the peephole. Just as I suspected, my parents stood in the hallway, still wearing their formal attire from the party, though considerably more disheveled now. My father's bow tie hung undone around his neck, and my mother's carefully styled hair was coming loose. I opened the door but did not invite them in. Renee, my father said, his voice a mixture of anger and panic. What is the meaning of this? We have been trying to reach you for hours. I received your calls, I replied calmly. I chose not to answer them. My mother pushed forward. We just got a call from the cruise line saying our trip was canceled. There must be some mistake. No mistake, I said. I canceled it. You had no right, my father exploded. That was our anniversary gift. A gift I was paying for, I reminded him. A gift for people who called me a beggar and had me escorted out of their party by security. My mother's expression shifted from indignation to calculation. Darling, you must understand, we were just caught off guard by your appearance. We thought you knew it was a couple's event. Stop lying, I said, my voice steady. The invitation did not specify couples only. You just did not want your divorced daughter embarrassing you in front of your friends. That is not fair, my father protested, though his eyes would not meet mine. What is not fair is how you have treated me for years. Using me financially while treating me as emotionally expendable. My parents exchanged a look, and I could see their strategy shifting. My mother's eyes filled with tears, a tactic she had used successfully many times before. Renee, sweetheart, if this is about last night, we are truly sorry. We never meant to hurt you. We were just stressed about the party going perfectly. This is about much more than last night, I said. This is about a pattern of behavior that has gone on for far too long, and it stops now. I handed them a printed copy of the email I had sent earlier. As you can see, I have terminated all financial support effective immediately. That includes the remaining balance for your anniversary party, the country club membership, the mortgage assistance, and the car lease payments. My father's face reddened. You cannot do this. We have obligations, commitments. They are your obligations, not mine, I replied. I have no legal responsibility to support your lifestyle. But the party balance, my mother sputtered. The hotel is expecting payment tomorrow. $15,000. Yes, and they will be contacting you directly for that payment. My father's demeanor changed rapidly from anger to desperation. Renee, please, we do not have that kind of money available right now. You know that. Actually, I do not know that. You have created such an illusion of wealth and success that it is hard to know what is real anymore. I could see the panic in their eyes now. The carefully constructed facade they had maintained for years was crumbling before them. What about the cars, my mother asked. We need those for work, for social obligations. The leases will terminate at the end of the month. You will need to return the vehicles to the dealership or assume the payments yourselves. My father ran his hand through his thinning hair. This is insanity. You cannot just cut us off without warning. We are your parents, for God's sake. Parents who called their own daughter a beggar, I reminded him. Parents who erased my contributions and humiliated me publicly. Parents who have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from me while giving nothing but criticism in return. For once they seemed at a loss for words. The reality of their situation was sinking in. What about Stephanie, my mother finally asked. Is this affecting her too? I laughed without humor. Interesting that your concern is for Stephanie, not for your relationship with me. But to answer your question, my financial relationship was with you, not her. Though I know you have funneled money to her and Curtis through me. My father's shoulders sagged. Curtis lost his position at the family firm 6 months ago, he admitted. They have been struggling. We have been helping them. With my money, I pointed out. Money I earned while you all looked down on my career and life choices. That is not fair, my mother protested weakly. What is not fair is being treated like an ATM while being deemed socially unacceptable. What is not fair is giving you hundreds of thousands of dollars only to be publicly humiliated. Lauren appeared behind me, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. My parents noticed her for the first time. This is a private family matter, my father said stiffly. Lauren is more family to me than you have been, I replied. She can stay. My mother's tears had dried up, her manipulation tactics failing. Now she looked simply afraid. What are we supposed to do? We cannot afford the mortgage on our own. The country club will revoke our membership. Perhaps it is time to live within your actual means, I suggested. Sell the house, get jobs that can support your lifestyle. Do what the rest of the world does. We are too old to start over, my father said. You are in your 60s, not your 90s. Many people work well into their 70s. My parents looked at each other, a silent communication passing between them. My father turned back to me. Renee, we acknowledge that we have made mistakes. We should not have excluded you last night. We should have been more appreciative of your support. But cutting us off completely is extreme. Perhaps we can come to some arrangement. The arrangement is this, I said firmly. If you want any relationship with me going forward, it will be based on mutual respect and genuine connection, not financial dependency. I am not your bank. I am your daughter. It is time you remembered the difference. And if we cannot meet our financial obligations, my mother asked, that is not my problem anymore. You are intelligent, capable people. Figure it out. My father looked desperate now. Just the party balance, $15,000. Help us with that one last thing, and we will never ask for money again. I shook my head. Number. The cycle ends now. My decision is final. After a few more minutes of futile arguments and failed manipulation attempts, my parents finally left. Their departing expressions were a mixture of disbelief, anger, and fear. For the first time in their adult lives, they would have to face the consequences of their financial choices without my safety net. As I closed the door behind them, Lauren pulled me into a hug. You did it, she said. You actually did it. I did, I agreed, surprised by how calm I felt. It is over. 6 months later, much had changed. My parents had been forced to sell their large house and move into a modest condo. My father had taken a consulting position at a small firm, and my mother had sold many of her designer possessions. They were living within their actual means for the first time in decades. Our relationship remained strained, but was slowly evolving into something more honest. Without money as a factor, we were learning to relate to each other as actual people. It was uncomfortable and difficult, but also more authentic than anything we had shared before. I had begun seeing Dr. Caroline, a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and boundary setting. Through our weekly sessions, I was learning to recognize and address the patterns of manipulation and people-pleasing that had defined so much of my life. Financial generosity is a beautiful quality, Dr. Caroline had told me during one session, but not when it comes at the cost of your emotional well-being. True. Generosity should feel good, not depleting. Surprisingly, my cousin Amber had reached out after the anniversary incident. Unlike the rest of the family, she had been appalled by my parents' behavior and wanted to reconnect. We had formed a genuine friendship, meeting regularly for coffee and conversations that had nothing to do with money or status. The most unexpected development had been the support group I started for others with similar family experiences. What began as casual conversations with friends had evolved into a formal monthly meeting where people shared stories of financial manipulation and emotional abuse within families. Together, we were learning healthier patterns of giving and receiving, of setting boundaries without guilt. As for my parents, they had eventually stopped trying to convince me to resume financial support. The desperation of those first weeks had given way to a reluctant acceptance of their new reality. Recently, my mother had even thanked me for a birthday gift, a simple framed photo of us from my childhood, without asking for anything more. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in my adult life, I felt free. Free from the burden of supporting people who did not appreciate me. Free from the constant drain on my resources and self-esteem. Free to define my worth based on who I was, not what I could provide. Standing up for myself had been the hardest and best decision I had ever made. The pain of that anniversary night had transformed into something powerful, the knowledge that I was strong enough to walk away from toxic relationships even when they were with the people who were supposed to love me most. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members who took you for granted? What would you have done in my situation? Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to hear more stories like this, and share with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to put themselves first sometimes. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that your worth is never determined by what you can give to others, but by the love and respect you give yourself.